All right, well, I cannot stress enough, and this stand's probably going to make all these crazy noises, but I cannot stress enough how important major scales are to any instrument, So today, this video is going to cover more than one instrument, and it's also going to cover the importance of scales and some different ways to practice your scales, whether it be ukulele, piano, a woodwind instrument, a brass instrument, any of those. There's so many different things. And you know, all of us sound different, but we're all playing the same thing when it comes to scales. So let's talk scales, shall we? How about the C major scale for starts? So with most instruments, C is your first note. Not so much if your instrument's not concert pitch, but C is your first note. Middle C, if it's a flute, that's the lowest note, practical note on your instrument, unless you have a B foot, and then you have one more extra note. But if you have C as your lowest note, which is the practical range, that's your first note. C, middle C on the piano, same pitch, of course. There it is. If you're going to play middle C on the ukulele, it's the C of green cows eat apples. That is your C. And they all look the same on the staff. It is below the staff, the first ledger line below the staff goes right through the note. So that's your C. Now, as you play up any scale, one thing's important no matter what instrument you play. Take your breath and then think of a steady tempo. Tapping your toe, metronome on is real important. You know, if you're going to do it on ukulele, there's your first four notes. If you're going to do it on a brass mouthpiece or your brass instrument, full instrument, make sure you're buzzing right. You're playing the first note with the flute. With the piano. See how I played all of them the same speed? I made all those notes what they call even distribution, meaning every note had the same length to it. I didn't do the scale pattern they do in band. We'll talk about that maybe in this video, maybe not. Okay, C on the little bells. Nope, see, gotta hit myself. Gotta watch what I'm doing. You always have to watch what you're doing, even if it's something simple as playing four notes. Hey, if we played these four notes on another instrument in the room, let me think what else I have. Oh yeah, look at the instruments behind me on the wall. Got the banjolele. Remember? Banjolele sounds different, but it is the ukulele, same tuning. So that means green cows, that's middle C. So what would the notes be? C, D, E, F. That's important to know, regardless of what you play. Now you're going by, how's this video apply to me? I play the saxophone. Well, it definitely applies to you, but the difference is, guess what? If you play your C major scale, you're starting on a different note than we are, right? But you're still playing a scale. You know, whatever you're playing. Then what would be the next part? You know, playing a scale. It's important to practice scales. The best way, in my opinion, to practice scales is with good posture, and to make sure that as you play it, you're tapping your foot as you play each note, or if you're doing eighth notes, your foot is doing the down and the up. And if you end up subdividing into 16th notes, which you might be, you still need to have that metronome and you're subdividing. Now, for the sake of practical purposes, if this video is being listened to by an older student or someone who's in middle school band, high school band, as you play your scales, you're past the stage that I just explained. So you're here, you know. be going at that speed. You still need to have that steady beat of foot tapping, evenly up, evenly down. The important thing about scales as you work on them is to make sure that every note you play is the best that it can sound. So you don't want to just slop through them. Oh, I can play fast. Nobody wants to hear that. Unless it's like for a certain effect, they want to hear the notes. And if you're using scales, which most band directors, most college band directors as well, will use scales for auditions, for tiebreakers, for grades, or for all of the above. They're listening for accuracy of the note, tone quality, very important, and evenness of tempo. They may require different articulations, so it's important as you practice to practice scales with different articulations. That's a fancy pants word for do more than just tongue up, slur down. You should also practice it, maybe slurring all of it. Or different rhythms. That was the triplet rhythm form, of course. You could also do a duple. Or whatever scale. Let's switch scales to F. Or tongue, slur, do it in the middle. It could be a number of things. You could slur up, tongue down. I'll tell you, slurs tend to really show everything. If you want to see everything that's wrong with your playing, slurs are going to show if the intervals are clean between the notes, and they're going to make sure if you play every note clean that you're going from note to note, interval to interval, with as clean a transition as possible. And I tell you, as you're getting older and going to the upper levels of middle school, going to high school band, making all region band, all state band, all of these students, all around the world, they've got to practice scales. They're so important. I never, ever in my life, now that I've played an instrument 47 years, this instrument, I've never had a time in my life where I haven't had to focus on practicing scales. They are a constant. They're not just, I'll practice them and then I won't need them anymore. That's a lie. You always need them. And as you get to playing more and more, you'll learn different forms of scales. Today, of course, I'm just demonstrating major scales. Those are important. But there are also minor scales and all of that. I think it's real important as you learn scales to memorize them as best, as you go, memorize them. And also it's best to memorize the key signature that the scale is associated with. C scale, no sharps, no flats, B flat scale, 2 flats, B flat, E flat. Making sure you learn that. There is a chart. It's called the Circle of Fifths chart. That could be helpful to you. That's something that we could talk about for sure. But make sure you're practicing scales. What's a good tempo to practice scales? It really depends on where your playing level is. It's not necessarily whoever plays them the fastest is the best. You tell you what's the best is whoever sounds the best on every note is accurate with the scale itself, and whoever keeps it steady. You don't want to speed up and then pause where it maybe has a difficult finger combination or partials or the fingerings are difficult. Wherever in a scale it is the most difficult, and you have whatever speed you can play that part, that's what you have to do the rest of the scale at until you can get everything to match. I use the flute, if, for example, on that, students learning the highest notes on the flute, the highest range, those fingerings can be cumbersome. Whatever speed you're playing, those last 2 or 3 notes of the C scale up there in octave 3, if you have to pause to get to C, then you need to figure out what the speed is so you can get it all even. And then iron it out from there. Happy practicing with scales. Scales can be your friend. Once you decide to be nice to them, they'll be nice to you.